Waiting on y'all. Welcome to the November the 5th St. Tammany Parish Council meeting. I'd like to start off the meeting with an invocation by Mr. T.J. Smith and followed by a pledge of allegiance by Mr. Jerry Bedler.
Let us bow. Our eternal Heavenly Father, thou who dost look upon time, from the beginning and until the end, as part of thy eternity, we thank thee for the many years of our lives. We're grateful to thee for all of the blessings that thou hast bestowed upon us during these years. We acknowledge that all life comes from thee and that it shall return to thee in thine own good time. Help us to put our trust in thee from day to day and fill our lives with good things. Bless this parish, bless these leaders, and bless everyone, O God, who stands in your need. In Jesus' name we pray and ask it all. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to start off with the roll call by Ms. Ford.
Mr. Dean? Mr. Sharp? Mr. Thompson? Mr. Faulkner? Mr. Gould? Mr. Groby? Mr. Tanner?
Here.
Mr. Canulet? Mr. Belisario? Ms. O'Brien? Mr. Stefanczyk? Mr. Bender? Ms. Blanchard? Mr. Smith? You have a quorum.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is under special items. It's ordinance calendar number 5462, which is the ordinance adopting the 2016 parish operating budget. It was introduced on 10/1/2015. I call on Mr. Stefanczyk.
We should be having a hearing now if anyone wants to speak on the budget issues. Is anybody signed up to speak on these issues? And I would move we refer this to the next meeting.
Second.
Motion been made that the budget be referred to the December meeting. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Thank you so much.
Ordinance count number 2 is under special items is ordinance calendar number 5463, an ordinance to establish the 2016 through 2020 parish capital improvement budget and programs and to further identify fixed assets and grants awards. Mr. Stefanski?
Same thing, as anybody chosen to speak on this?
Yes, sir.
I would move we refer to the December meeting for adoption.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, we refer to the December meeting for adoption. Is there any discussion by council? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Thank you. Now we'll go to presentations. The presentation of proclamation to St. Tammany Parish Government Employee of the Month, Ms. Brister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As in months past, we do have an Employee of the Month, and I want to commend, before I read the declaration, Lori Ojeda. She came to us as temporary, from a temporary firm, and she just worked out so beautifully. We're so glad that she is now with us permanently, and she has done a fantastic job. And I'm going to read this, and I want to tell you one particular thing that she's done so well. Whereas Lori Ojeda has been an employee of St. Tammany Parish Government in the Parish President's Office since October 2014, and whereas Lori has shown excellent customer service skills and a willingness to tackle any and all tasks put before her, including special projects, in conjunction with her regular duties, and whereas Lori possesses a can-do attitude and she is instrumental in making things happen, qualities greatly appreciated and highly valued. And whereas Lori was responsible for much of the coordination and planning for the recent Law Enforcement Association luncheon, and this event far exceeded the expectations of every person involved. So therefore, I, Patricia Brister, President of St. Tammany, do hereby recognize the hard work and accomplishments of Lori Ojeda as Employee of the Month, November 2015. And I encourage all employees of St. Tammany Parish to thank her for her contributions and commitment to St. Tammany Parish. Thank you, Lori. I just want to add one thing. As you know, in our office, we are down one person. We didn't fill a spot that became vacant, and much of the reason we were able to do that is because of Lori. She has taken on more and more work every time. She and Amy do a fantastic job, and you know Ann does, so we were able to do that because of Lori. So thank you. Thank you, Lori, very much. Thank you, Lori.
Second thing is a presentation of, is it Jean or John? Sean. Jean Day.
Jean Day.
Jean Day
It's not John.
Charitable Collection Fund. I'm asking which one it is.
It's Jean Day.
To Hospice Foundation of the South, Ms. Brister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is certainly my pleasure to once again offer a check that for funds that were raised by our employees for Jean Day. If you want to wear jeans on Friday, you just have $1 deducted from your paycheck. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to, but they do, and then they pick the charity that they want the donation to go to. So today, Kathy Busco of Hospice Foundation of the South is here to accept a donation from St. Tammany Parish government employees in the amount of $3,998 as part of the Jean Day charity program. Employees donate $1 each Friday so they can wear jeans to work, but the response from employees has been resounding that they truly enjoy supporting the charitable organizations in St. Tammany. So we could not be happier about this contribution, and I know you have a great fan, and he works with you quite regularly,
Yes.
and Mike Savant, so thank you, Mike, for what you do. So we're happy to present that, and the employees wanted you to have it. So
Thank you very, very much.
So if you want to-
Appreciate it
okay.
very much. Thank you.
If you want to say something.
thank you all so very, very much. This money will go a long way. Most of you probably know, a year ago in March in 2014, we opened the hospice house here in Slidell, and we have terminally ill patients come stay that we take care of at no cost. We've had over 70 patients come to the house since that time. It's truly very rewarding, and it is giving back to the community at a time when people need it the most. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And I apologize, I thought that was the name of a person, but now I read it right as Jean Day, which is a charitable collector for Hospice Foundation.
Mr. Tanner, you just need to pull up another dollar and give it to hospice right now.
If I had to put up a dollar every time I made a mistake, I would go broke. Number 3 is presentation by Cherie Flores regarding families and disabilities. Mr. Groby.
We're going to need to postpone this. There was a conflict in the schedule.
Okay, no action necessary. All right, next on the agenda is items to pull. I have introduction ordinances 5478, 5479, 5481, 5488. Are there other ones that need to be pulled? Anybody on the council need to pull any other ordinances? Does anybody in the audience want to pull an ordinance? Okay. Resolutions, C4442, C4443, 5C446, and those are the resolutions that have been asked to be pulled. Does the council member, any council member have any resolution other than those they want to pull? Administration, do you have any? Anybody in the audience have any?
Move to
Okay.
adopt the consent
Excuse me,
calendar.
Mr. Chairman, I do.
Okay.
Did you mention, item 4, CS 4445?
No,
No. I'm asking about 4445.
No, we didn't.
Okay, I'd like to pull that, please.
And Richard? I'd like to remove C4446.
You did.
Okay.
Are there others?
Move to adopt the consent calendar.
Motion been made and second that we adopt the consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
The first ordinance to be pulled is ordinance calendar number 5478. These are ordinances for introduction. This is an ordinance to amend the contract agreement for the parish government and Acadian Ambulance Service for the provision of emergency and non-emergency ambulance services. Mr. Stefani.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move to introduce first, and if I get a second, then I want to speak on it, and then I have another motion.
A motion been made and seconded to introduce.
Okay? I spent the last couple of weeks negotiating with Acadian Ambulance, and Chris Kaufman, the fire chief who represents all the fire districts in St. Tammany Parish. We reviewed the Fire District 12 pulling out of the ambulance service. I think everybody's read about it in the paper and understand what's going on. We have managed to put that back into the contract with Acadian to provide that coverage. The good thing we have been able to do is we've maintained a 15-minute response time throughout all of the parish that was there before, because before Fire District 12 pulled out, we had a lot of 20-minute area, coverage area in the parish. We had removed that down to 15 when they pulled out, and we've kept everything at 15, putting them back in. So, and this is especially good for the rural areas where the 20-minute time frame was in existence. We added some more area for 8-minute response time, and I have a map in the back. It'll become, the smaller part of it will become a part of this ordinance we're doing tonight. I have a map that shows those 8-minute response times that we've added, and they're primarily up 190 and around Covington and along 36, so a part of the way down 36. We have also added to the contract a section to review the data after March 31st of next year. Give them 5 months worth of data to review, and then we'll look to see if we can improve any other response times in the parish. So that's where we are with this contract, and we need to not only adopt this, we need to suspend the rules and adopt it. The Fire District 12 ceased their ceased their ambulance service as of October 31st. So as of tonight, I'm going to move that we suspend the rules and adopt this as an emergency ordinance.
Motion been made and seconded that we suspend the rules to make this an emergency ordinance. Please vote on your machine.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Hear a motion to adopt, Mr. Fonzie?
Yes, so moved.
Motion made and seconded that we adopt. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
The second one that we pull in is ordinance calendar number 5479, an ordinance to amend the parish personnel policy pertaining to benefits, annual leave, and sick leave.
So moved.
Move to introduce. Second. Move to introduce and second. It'll be on the agenda for next week for adoption, next month. Number 4 is ordinance calendar 5481, an ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 3.36 acres from A1A to A2, Ward 2, District 6, to be referred to the zoning commission. Here, a second.
Second.
Okay. This is for introduction. Motion is for introduction. Okay. And I have a card from Mr. Carlo.
Thank you. Carlo Hernandez. I want to commend you on one thing. This is the second ordinance. So last month there was another ordinance that was introduced, which I understand is for final adoption, which is going to be tabled later on. But this one, as you know, is being referred to zoning. This one had a blank sheet for the fees associated with it. Now, I will fill in the blanks as far as the fees are associated for this one. $493 are the fees that should be associated with this. Last month's, which will be tabled, I think, under ordinance for adoption, was $955. Now, those of us who believe that, good uses could be made, and hopefully we will collect these funds, one of the things, those of us who had to go through this metal detector here this evening for the first time, those that go to the courthouse know that there is a moving belt that you put your stuff on, and it makes it easier, far easier than getting through the system that's in place right now. So I would hope that you would consider having maybe
Carlos,
putting it.
stay on this motion.
Yes, sir. I'm talking
on
about
the motion.
the funds that hopefully will be coming forth, and I'm suggesting a possible use of these funds. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we have a motion to refer, and it'll be going to the next meeting after the zoning commission meeting.
Move to refer to zoning.
Motion been made that we refer to zoning. Discussion. Anybody opposed? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
The next one I have is ordinance calendar 5488 is ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 2.88 acres from HC2 to HC2A, Ward 3, District 5.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dean.
I've been asked by Mr. Gould to postpone, asked to pull this and postpone till next month. I realize it's,
Motion, do we have a second? Motion
Postpone
made
the
and seconded
introduction?
that it be postponed.
I'm sorry,
You're postponing the introduction?
that's what I was asked to do, yeah.
I had some calls on this today, and I just wanted to explain to the audience, especially if they, I don't know how many are here, but this is the introduction of this ordinance, and Mr. Gould has requested that it be postponed, which means if it comes back, it'll come back again as an introduction and lay over for a month and then to be voted on. Mr. Mathis, you still want to speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Lee Mathis with the States of North Fork Homeowners Association. Just wanted to thank you for postponing this because we have not had an opportunity to confer with Mr. Gould about the possible impacts this might have. And that's really why we were asking for a postponement on this. We thank you for that.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? We need to vote on the motion to postpone. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, moving to resolutions. First one I have to pull is Resolution Council Series C4442, resolution to approve the issuance of certificates of indebtedness for Communication District Number 1.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to invite up Grant Sluter and Rodney Hart to give a brief discussion on this project.
Thank you. Grant Schluter with Foley Udell Bond Counsel. This is a request from the 911 district for authority to issue up to $6.5 million of certificates of indebtedness for capital projects. It's for not exceeding 20 years. We anticipate an RFP to banks, and basically Mr. Hart is here. He can explain the project and what they're proposing to do out there.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Council. The 911 Communication District plans to utilize these funds to build a 16,000 square foot dispatch center in Lacombe on Crental Road, and it will house or bring together all the dispatch personnel for fire, police, and EMS all in one location in the parish. Currently, we have 5 different locations throughout the parish for doing dispatch.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion from council members? Mr. Bellisario.
I'd just like to move to approve your resolution.
Mr. Sharp, second. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Thank you.
The next resolution is Council Series Number 4443, resolution to approve the appointment of Adrian Strobel as Director of Human Resources for the remainder of the 2012-2016 Parish President's term of office. And I've talked to her earlier, Pat, and I calmed her down and said they all meetings weren't just rowdy, and so she said, do I look like a sucker up here?
We are very, very excited, Mr. Chairman, that Adrian is coming on board with us for our Director of HR. She will be here in a week, I think.
That's right.
In one more week. So she comes very well prepared, and we're excited about her being here. So she is here if any council members would like to ask her any questions, or not warn her about anything, but ask her any questions. And I wanted you to be able to meet her tonight.
We have a motion to Mr. Stefanczyk, seconded by Belisario. Any discussion on the resolution? Adrian, do you have anything you want to say before we sentence you?
I'm leaving that jurisdiction. No, I just want to thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Four. Next one is Resolution Council Series C4445, resolution to acknowledge the authority of the parish president to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement with Leadership North Shore, Ward 9, District 13. Mrs., is it? You went?
I pulled it, Richard.
Okay.
Yes. I just, Ms. Blanchard is chairman of the curriculum committee for Leadership North Shore. I'd like to thank her and Leadership North Shore for their involvement in the donation of 2 shade pavilions, 3 metal benches, some signage for the East St. Tammany Fishing Pier. The reason I pulled this is because I happen to go back to the beginning when the idea was created and going through the formative stages with the state and everything that needed to be done. And it is in Ms. Blanchard's district, but of course it's a global issue for all of us on the council and in parish government. I also wanted to just make the point, because I've gotten emails and so forth on cooperative endeavor agreements, and I understand the points that are made at times. This cooperative endeavor agreement is limited to that, to helping raise funds to provide these kinds of additions to it, okay? Parish maintains control. We maintain the rangers that are out there, the timing of how long the pier is open at certain times of year and so forth. And I know, Ms. Bristol, you confirmed that, correct?
That is correct, and this really is a donation, as has been donated in the past, and we appreciate it very much. It's one of our most popular recreation spots in the parish, and we really do appreciate the work and the time that they put into making it better.
I agree.
Ms. Blanchard?
And I just want to thank, I'm just merely the curriculum chair. This was a project team that came together, and this was their idea, and they worked very hard. So I just want to commend that project team for bringing this asset and these assets to our parish.
You want to make the motion to adopt the resolution?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir. And I will second.
Second by Mr. Bender. Any discussion to council members? None? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
I'm gonna just hesitate right now, because I told Mr. Bender he wanted to do something, and I wanted him to do it, and I forgot about it. And I would like for you to talk about what we talked about.
The chairman and I talked to Chairman Tanner briefly before the meeting, and yeah, it's going to be brief, okay? Everybody's out there smiling, you know. Can't believe Richard gave this to Jerry, okay? But seriously, I know this is preaching to the choir with everybody that's here, but we need to get our vote turnout up, okay, for our November election, okay? I mean, we've got statewide offices, we've got parish-wide offices, we still have council district races that we're looking at, okay? Here's the thing. Everybody talk to your neighbors, your family, and we just need to get out and vote, okay? 36.2% is not, what I consider our best effort, and we're much better than that. So let's make a point. We've got early voting coming up for those who are going to be out of town, the 7th through the 14th. We've got these people that work hard at these voting polls sitting there all day. Let's go out and vote. Let's talk it up, okay? 21st is the election day, and vote for candidates of your choice. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bender, and I encourage everybody to heed those words also. It's almost embarrassing, the turnout that we get. Not St. Tammany, but statewide. I mean, it's just, I don't understand where this country's coming to. Next thing is Council Series number 4446, resolution to acknowledge the authority of the parish president to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Shefunkta River Foundation, and I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Blanchard.
Yeah, I would like to make a few remarks, and I'm going to remove this from our agenda. First, I'd like to thank Friends of North Shore Beach who have made some improvements to the beach. Mr. Terry Manning has been picking up trash. However, it's not enough, and more people that are using the beach should be picking up trash. These efforts are inadequate to ensure that the beach is a safe, clean, family-oriented, that no illegal use is being done on the beach, and it respects the residential neighborhood that is nestled within. And so I want to thank the Shefunkta River Foundation for coming to talk to us about solutions and ideas. They would have been a good 501c organization that would have helped the beach with fundraising efforts, bring it to the next level, but unfortunately it's not within the scope of projects that they're looking at this time. So I do regret that we lost this potential community partner to bring to the beach to where it needs to be. I will continue to work with the Homeowners Association and citizens to find solutions for this beach for summer of 2016. It's unfortunate that this cooperative endeavor cannot go forward at this time. So with that, I make a motion to remove it from the agenda. And I do want to make one other point. The biggest problem with North Shore Beach is that it is a public thing. But just because something is public doesn't mean that it's a taxpayer burden. It needs a funding source. And that is our number one problem with the beach. We've got to find adequate funding that can ensure that it is a safe community asset for people to use. And so I will continue to work towards that. With that tonight, I'd like to make a motion to remove it from the agenda.
Motion made and seconded to remove from the agenda. I do have some cards that people wanted to speak, but since we're removing it from the agenda, I don't see a reason for you to speak. Do I? Yeah, 4. But I mean, do you still want to speak?
You need to give them the opportunity.
I just did, Mr. Stefan.
I said, okay.
Does anybody want to speak? Seeing none, please vote on the resolution.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Okay, that completes our consent calendar. We'll go now to appeals. And the first appeal is Bruce Cox appealing zoning commission denial on October the 6th to rezone 70,808 square feet located on the northwest corner of Sharp Road and Highway 59 to Val Estates from A3 Suburban District to Highway Commercial 2, Ward 4, District 5. Mr. Belisario is going to handle for Mr. Gu, who's working.
No, I'm doing it.
You want to, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we had a request to move to table.
Mr. Chair, I had spoke to Marty Gould, and he asked me to take the lead on this case.
Wait a minute, Gene. We have a motion to table. Do I have a second? Motion made and seconded that we table. Motion to table is undebatable, so please vote on the motion.
Mr. Chairman, point of information. What is the reason for tabling over listening to it tonight? I'd like at
We
least,
don't have to have that, Mr. Safan.
excuse me, I'm asking that from you.
You don't
If
have.
you don't know the
I don't
answer,
know.
ask somebody that will.
I don't know.
That's a point of information which I
Point
can't
of
ask.
information is because a motion has been made and seconded to table.
Right.
Please vote.
I know it's not debatable. Why are you tabling?
At the request of the
I want to see what they're doing.
Motion fails with 8 nays, 5 yeas, 1 absent.
Okay, the motion to table fails, and we'll move on to the appeal, and Mr. Belisario is going to handle it for Mr. Good.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I had spoken to Marty Gold on this 8 days ago on this particular case, and I'm aware of the case from reading over the file. And from what I see there, I'd like to have the petitioner come forward and enter the opposition to look at overriding the unanimous vote of the zoning commission. So I'd like the petitioner to step forward. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Bruce Cox, and I spoke to Marty Gould on Friday, and he told me that he had just gotten back in from China, and that we weren't going to be able to get together, and that he would not be here tonight, and so therefore, that's the reason why I was wanting to table it, because I've not been able to get with him on it to discuss about the rezoning, and he told me, actually, his wife had actually texted me last week and said, we just got back from China, we're in California, we'll be in tomorrow, and I'll have Marty call you, and he called me on Friday and told me that he was not going to be here tonight, and that he would try and see if he could do something to look at everything and get with me. And this morning I called the council and they told me that they sent him an email, and he emailed back saying he was on a ship and that he wasn't able to take and meet with me and that he would not be here tonight. And I'm not prepared to take and go forward today because all the information I have, I've got packets for everyone, copies of the zoning, copies of all the highway commercial zoning, and as well as sure all you all know, the state's going to wind up buying a portion of it to put a roundabout, but I'm not certain yet as to how much is going to be left over, and I won't know for about 3 weeks from the state that I can end up using for whatever purpose I'm using it for.
I'd like to hear from the opposition. You should have been prepared for the case.
Well, I've got it in my car. I mean, I certainly could bring it out. It's just that when Marty Gould told me that he would contact me and we would get together by, before today, I never heard from him, and then today he sent an email back to the council, or to the office, stating that he was on a ship and that to let me know he would not be here tonight. So I almost never came, and then I said, well, let me just table it. But I wasn't expecting to take and come forward tonight to go on the appeal.
I can only tell you, 8 days ago, he and I spoke about this case specifically. I was given the complete file to review it, and I'm more than prepared to talk about it.
Okay. Well, his office certainly could tell you that he sent them an email today stating that he was not able to get with me.
But you guys have talked about this, because this is your 4th denial on this piece of property?
In the last 15 years, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's been like 7 or 8 years since I came before the parish about getting it rezoned.
Okay.
And like I said, when I talked to him on Friday, he told me that he's been gone the last 2 weeks, so I've not even had an opportunity to get with him.
Mr.
And
Chair.
certainly as my council member, my council person, I thought he would be the one I would need to speak to.
Bruce, you have any other evidence, or you don't have that with you, you said?
I don't have everything with me.
Okay, all right. Mr. Bender.
Mr. Chairman, and sir, so the process, and I understand the point that you're making, okay? And I do realize Mr. Gould was in China, okay? But the process coming before us, and I mean this in a very non-offensive way, in a positive way, it doesn't rely on simply any one council member, okay? You're appealing the zoning commission denial. and we're prepared here to hear the case. That's why it's on the agenda. That's why you're here. I'm assuming from what I'm hearing, that's why there's opposition here. We can hear the case, am I correct, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Parliamentarian? And after we hear the case, we can entertain a motion to do whatever, whether it's deny, override, or table. But I think we need to hear the case tonight.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. And that's what our vote said. We're not tabling. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anybody else? You have,
Sorry about that. I'd like you to start your presentation before I request the opposition to speak.
Okay. Can I get about 2 minutes to get what I
Mr.
have out of my
Chairman?
car?
I'm sorry, but this time has been allocated to a councilman. It has not been allocated to him yet. You haven't called him, and we either need to quit talking about this, or you take over the control and it doesn't reside in a person, another councilman up here. This man has a right to have his 5 minutes. I started timing him, but it wasn't his time because it was Gene's.
That's correct.
That's who you allocated it to.
and I think that's why Gene just said,
Yes.
okay, we're gonna have the hearing,
No,
Mr. Cox.
Gene can't say that.
Okay,
Sorry.
Mr. Cox, we're gonna have the hearing.
Okay.
You got 5 minutes.
Thank you. I'm going to grab what I need to get, and I'll bring in each one of y'all a packet.
Okay, we'll rest.
Mr. Chair, can we take a couple-minute break?
No, you won't come back in 2
Okay.
minutes. Oh, this- No, he's second. See, he put appeal number 2.
Yeah, you seem like you're having fun up there. Yeah, they seem like. Yeah, when I heard it was trying to like table and all these people getting mad, I was like, oh, this is not gonna be good. You got nervous. So everybody just ducks down. Let's do a thing for these folks out
All right, Mr. Cox, you have the floor for 5 minutes.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The reason why I was wanting to get the property rezoned is that, yes, I've come before the council in the last 15 years 3 times to get it rezoned, and each time it's been denied. The corners has 17,000 or so cars a day go by. It's one of the busiest corners on Highway 59. It's actually the only corner on Highway 59 with a red light that's not commercial. There's no difference between the corner of Highway 59 and the corner of Highway 59 and Sharp and the corner of Lonesome and 59. Both Highway 59 and Lonesome and Sharp have about the same amount of vehicles pass by a day. Lonesome is commercial and Sharp's not. And I've never had the opportunity to get this property rezoned. The reason why I wasn't prepared tonight is I had 2 appraisers that were going to come by who do commercial appraisals to state why they thought the property should be zoned commercial, being that it's a hard corner at a red light. And I know, Mr. Tanner, you yourself is a real estate agent, and there's no reason why that corner would not be commercial. 6 years ago, when they did the comprehensive rezoning, for whatever reason, all of Highway 59, which is included on the maps that you all have, and I've got one large map. But if you look at the map, all of Highway 59 basically is commercial, except for the portion right there where I'm at.
We actually could see that on the map you gave us, and you're
Okay.
blocking the people
I'm sorry.
from.
But anyway.
Put the map down.
So the reason why I say this is that all of the highway has been rezoned commercial except for the strip where I'm at Highway 59 and Sharp Road. As everybody knows, the state's going to buy it. They're going to put a roundabout there, but they're not buying it all because I've got 364 feet on the highway, and they're only going to buy what they need. But I don't know exactly what they're not going to take because they don't know yet what they're not taking. I've met 2 or 3 times in the last month with the state, and they told me they won't have the final maps till probably sometime in December, at which time they'll know what they're going to take and what they're not going to take. I wanted to get it rezoned commercial because it should have been rezoned commercial not only 5 years ago when they did the comprehensive rezoning, but the 2 or 3 times prior to that I've come before the parish to get it rezoned. It should have been rezoned. There was and not to really get into it, there was a councilman member on the council at the time, and I talked to him today, and, he said, hey, I'll come up and speak for you, but I can't, get it tabled, and I'll come up in December and I'll talk. But in the meantime, because of the fact that y'all want to hear it right now, I am not prepared, other than what I have right now. But I've got appraisers that were going to come in and talk about it. I've got 2 people that were going to come in and talk about the fact that they were going to buy it and put a commercial property. I passed along to everybody. Y'all have a copy of a contract from 2004 from a doctor that was going to buy it and put a medical center who put $20,000 deposit on it for $600,000, and it didn't go through then either. In the meantime, before CVS went to 59 and 59 and 1088, CVS was going on 59 and Sharp. Companies like this don't look at a piece of property and say, oh yeah, there's no way that they wouldn't look at buying it and putting a CVS on a corner if they didn't think that it was a big enough corner and a busy enough corner in an intersection that would warrant to take and put a development like that. But I've had 5 or 6 companies Omni Bank is another one that was going to buy it and put a bank there. And each time, I've never been able to get it rezoned. And there's a reason for it, and that's why I said, the council person who was on the council before, I could never get it rezoned. He's not here tonight, and that's another reason why I was getting it tabled. But I'm totally not even close to being prepared to come tonight. Like I said, when I spoke to Marty Gould on Friday, he just told me, hey, listen, I'm not going to be there more than likely. I'll look at it and see what I can do, and I'll give you a call back. But like I said, I contacted him today, and he said he was on a ship and wouldn't be able to be here today. And had I realized that it wasn't going to get tabled, it still would have been hard for me to have appraisers come in here today and talk about why a hard corner like that would be commercial. I'll tell you another thing. Every council person in this room today, there's not one of you all that would think, for one, that it's not worthy of being a commercial corner, and secondly, none of you all would want to live on it. You know, when I bought it in 2000, the person that sold it to me said, man, why would you want to buy this property? Why would you want to live here? And I'm like, I don't want to live here. It's a corner at a red light, a commercial corner is what I thought, on a highway with 17,000 cars a day go by, and that was the reason.
Time up. Anything else? How much time you got, Steve? Got 20 seconds left.
And like I said, and look at the contract that y'all have. That was from 2004, for $600,000. I'm being penalized for a piece of property I bought 15 years ago that's never gotten zoned commercial, when in fact, really, there's not another probably corner on the highway that should be commercial. And I'll tell you another thing, and I don't know if this is accurate or not. I met with the parish council, the planning department today. I don't think there's another corner in St. Tammany Parish at a red light that's not commercial.
Mr. Chair, before we ask for the opposition to come up, I have a question for Sidney Fontenot. Isn't the normal course, if somebody wants a case postponed, that they contact you within 24 hours of the hearing and request that, so that everybody's aware of the request to either table or to postpone? Tabling would just delay it for the meeting, but postpone would do it for next month.
That would be the normal course for the zoning commission. If they want to contact for the council meeting, we recommend we contact the councilman and the staff, and the council staff.
That's irrelevant, Gene. We've already went through the lack of tabling it. This time, I have a couple cards in opposition to it. One is Mr. Riker Toledano.
Mr. Tanner, thank you very much. For the record, I'm Riker Toledano, and I guess I should enjoy this moment because pretty soon I won't have a chance to stand on this side. Excuse me, Mr. Cobb. And let me just start off by putting your mind at ease. I spoke to Marty Gould today myself. At no time did he ask me, or suggested this matter would be tabled. So I came here thinking it was ripe for discussion, and I believe that to be the case. I differ respectfully with Mr. Cox with regard to this corner. This is a unique corner. And Mr. Cox's proposition was, well, an appraiser told me it should be commercial. Well, I think you ladies and gentlemen know that that is not the test as to whether this property should be commercial. And I would suggest to you on behalf of the people that live in this community that this property is very unique, but it fits very much the prototype of what Mr. Fontenot and his staff has tried to achieve in this parish, and that is simply because it's a highway, you don't make it all commercial. And then particularly with regard to this section of the property, Highway 59, not only is it a converging road, Sharp Road, which is a residential road, it's not a commercial road, but in that immediate vicinity, there are these subdivisions: Heritage Heights, Grand Maison, Woodvine, Pineview Lane, which is a small community, not exactly a subdivision, Twin Oaks, 2 churches, and various single-family homes. I drove this again yesterday and the day before. That particular area is residential. In my view, it does not lend itself to a commercial characterization. Importantly, the Duval Estates, which is one of our long-standing subdivisions in this community, is what I call a parallel road subdivision to Highway 59. That is to say, most subdivisions, as we know it, converge perpendicular onto a major highway. Duval Estates actually runs parallel to this area. And in fact, as I look at the map, some of these lots look to me like in Duval Estates, and in all likelihood, their own subdivision restrictions would prohibit it from being commercial. It's very similar to what we have on 1077 and 1088. There are pockets of commercial, but then there are long-standing residential area, such as this. For those reasons, I would respectfully suggest to you that you turn this down. There's no buffer here that would insulate the good people who have invested in this community residentially. And just being a businessman myself and understanding that Mr. Cox is a prudent businessman, he's probably thinking, well, if I get it zoned commercial, I'll probably get a better value at the taking. Well, I differ with that. I believe, and I've consulted with at least one real estate appraiser who does appraisals for takings for the state, and they say that the appraiser will still look to the highest and best use, even though it is not zoned that way, if it has an opportunity to be zoned that way. So I think he's going to still get a reasonable value for his taking, but importantly, for this community and for the people that live there, this is not an appropriate zone, even though it's on a highway, and it is not out of character with some of your other highways where there are long-standing residential areas. So I would respectfully ask that you concur with the denial of your planning commission and reject this appeal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next person is Gary Mellinger.
You have 1 minute and a half.
1 minute and a half, Mr. Gary. I lost my bet. I bet that Riker wouldn't leave any time left.
Thank you very much. Gary Mellinger, 115 Highland Drive, Duval Estates. Wow, I had like 5 or 6 pages here, and I got a minute and a half. Actually, I wanted to tell you about the Duval Estates Homeowners Association. We've worked very, very closely with the parish in the past. We attended the very first meetings in 2001 for the public hearings for the new master parish plan. And what I wanted to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, was that we gave up a lot for this plan. We allowed rezoning of the northern part of our subdivision to provide a buffer to protect our neighborhood and our property values from commercial intrusion. We were later called upon by you to make further changes so that Fontainebleau could acquire some much-needed property. So, ladies and gentlemen, please believe me when I tell you that we are invested in this parish plan. We participated and we're invested. Duval Estates is a century old. A lot of my good neighbors and friends are here tonight. You'll note the badges here. Some have lived in our subdivision for 40 years. This property that Mr. Cox is talking about is our subdivision. It is our neighborhood. It's our community. We were there first. As a point of reference also, I'd like to tell you that Duval Estates actually exists east and west of Highway 59 and north and south of Sharp Road.
Gary, you're going to have, your time's up, but you're going to have 2 minutes later for a rebuttal.
All right.
So if you want to hold that, we're going to go back to Mr. Cox and for his 2-minute rebuttal, and then we'll
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Back up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I know with what Mr. Toledano was saying, that 59 and Sharp, there's no difference between 59 and Sharp and 59 and Lonesome. There are subdivisions all down Lonesome. I live in Hunters Glen, right down the street from Lonesome, yet 59 and Lonesome is also still commercial. Plus, like I said, every corner on Highway 59, practically all of Highway 59 is commercial. Every corner in almost all of the parish that has a red light is commercial. Secondly, my property is not part of Duval Estates. It has nothing to do with Duval Estates. 8 years ago, I went before every homeowner in Duval Estates. And it was funny that he said it's a 100-year-old subdivision, because the person that started the subdivision, Valon, it was Dino and Valon, they actually signed as well, taking my property out of the subdivision, as well as the majority of the homeowners of Duval Estates. So my property is not even part of Duval Estates. So, and the reason I had it taken out of the subdivision bylaws is because of the fact that you can't have commercial in the subdivision. And when CVS was going to buy it from me, there was a problem because of the fact that they couldn't have commercial in the subdivision. But the majority of the homeowners in the Val Estates have signed, given me permission, taken the property out of the subdivision, so it's no longer part of the subdivision bylaws. But even that being said, even if that wouldn't have happened, I understand then I couldn't get a commercial, but it's a hard corner at a red light. Real estate appraisers weren't coming in and said, hey, you need to get a zone commercial. I came before Henry Billiard in 2001, 2004. I've come before this council 3 times to get it rezoned commercial. And each time, it was denied. And it was not denied for any particular reason, just saying, no, we don't want commercial. One time they said, oh, we made a mistake when we zoned this commercial, we're not going to zone yours commercial. Everybody in this room knows that a corner like that with 17,000 cars a day going by at a red light should be a commercial corner. And CVS, Omni Bank, you know, all these different companies, this doctor wouldn't want to buy this property if they didn't think it was a good corner to put a commercial building. A medical center, what's the problem with putting a medical center? But like I said, it's not part of the subdivision, and the person that actually started the subdivision, who developed the subdivision, also took the property out of the subdivision. So it is not part of the VAL.
Mr. Aguirre, you have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Mr. Cox. I certainly would like for Mr. Cox to actually, give some real evidence. This property is in the center of our subdivision. This property is surrounded by Duval Estates. It's absolutely ludicrous for him to stand here before you and tell you that he has had it removed somehow. I've been working with the homeowners association since 2000 when Mr. Cox bought this property. Mr. Cox has never approached me to have his property removed. He says that my good neighbors here have signed off on this. We want to see proof of this. This is I'm not sure, ladies and gentlemen, about being able to stand up here and just make statements like that. I just think that the only real reasonable and just thing that you can do is to reject this proposal. I think that if we allow any land speculator or developer to buy up property in existing settled residential areas and flip them for financial gain, if we do that even one time in this parish, you will never be able to stop it again, ever. This is our subdivision. Mr. Cox does not live here. This is not his neighborhood. We're a neighborhood, it's a wonderful neighborhood, a neighborhood of older retired people, young singles, young couples with small children just starting out in life. This is our home. Mr. Cox's petition endangers our property value. It endangers our subdivision, and it endangers the validity of our master plan. Ladies and gentlemen, there's only one thing you can do tonight, and that's reject this proposal. Thank you.
All right, is there any questions or what have you from, what are you pucking now? You don't have any time left.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Sidney Fontenot. The question I have is Mr. Cox is talking about getting the bylaws changed. The HOA bylaws or bylaws he's talking about have nothing to do with the subdivision ordinance 499. To me, to get those lots out of that subdivision, he would have had to come through the St. Tammany Parish Planning Commission to have those lots removed from the subdivision. Did that ever take place?
That did not take place.
Thank you.
Ms.
Maureen's got a
O'Brien?
question.
Well, that was going to be part of my question, because I'm looking, and everything we see on the map all the way along Highway 59 is HC, HCPF, HC, NC, PUD, HC, except for 2 very small areas. So what you're telling me is, from a legal standpoint, this legally is still inside the subdivision?
The legal description that we have in our file for Mr. Cox's property indicated that it is lots in Duval's estates.
So technically, we're not supposed to change it by virtue of that?
That's not what I said. I said that it is in Duval Estates. We do not regulate the covenants of subdivisions.
Mr. Bender?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sidney, and I am noticing on a reference survey, it's subdivision plat of Duval Estates, okay? I read your recommendation, your staff's recommendation, and your recommendation was to the zoning commission that this not be changed to highway commercial, correct? Okay. And what was the vote for my information on the zoning commission on this?
It was there were 7 members present that night. It was unanimous.
Okay. And one question for the gentleman the gentleman who spoke in opposition. I'm sorry, sir, I don't remember your name. Yes, sir, thank you. You mentioned that you live on Highland Drive, and I'm looking at the map of Highland Drive, which is immediately behind this property.
Yes.
So these lots, 98, 97, all the way to 92, they have homes on them?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes. This,
That's good. Thank you. Mr. Falconer?
Admittedly, I've come late to the party here, but I did get a call. Marty Gould mentioned it to me earlier this week. So I had an opportunity to go out there and look at the site. I mean, just putting eyes on the thing. I'm a little bit confused by Mr. Belanger's assertion that the property is in the center of the neighborhood, because it looks to me, just looking at it from the street, that it's actually on that hard corner of 59 and Sharp. Thank you, Mr. Sharp. But I'm just worried. I think Mr. Cox makes a good point, that the property is on a heavily traveled commercial corridor, and that if it remains residential, the effect of retaining the residential designation will be effectively to take the property out of commerce. Because I'm not sure anybody in the neighborhood or anybody in this room would want to live on that hard corner due to the traffic noise and everything else. I mean, we have the ordinances in place to provide for buffering and, against residential property. And I'm concerned that given the commercial nature of Highway 59, that the implementation or the enforcement of a restrictive residential zoning at this corner is going to effectively take that property out of commerce. That's my point.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Tanner, I have one other quick question of Mr. Cox, please. Mr. Cox. Mr. Cox, you mentioned early on something about the state of Louisiana buying a portion of your property for a roundabout?
Correct. They're putting a roundabout there, and they're putting a roundabout at Lonesome at the same time within the next year and a half.
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said you're not sure how much of your property they're buying?
Well, according to the parish, according to the state, I have 364 feet on the highway.
Right.
They don't know exactly how much they need. They're going to put a temporary road that's going to run behind the house down Sharp. They're going to put a roundabout with a new on-ramp to Sharp, and then do away with the old one later. But because of the fact that they don't know exactly how much room you need, they said basically it might be 100 feet before you approach a roundabout that you can't exit to access the property. So I may not be able to access any of the property, and if that's the case, then they'll buy the whole thing. But if that's not the case, and if they say, hey, we only need 240 feet, and it's going to leave you with 124 feet left over, it may be enough to do something with, it may not be. And at that point, they'll determine whether or not there's enough left that they can say, hey, we're only going to buy what we need, and then you keep the rest of it. Or are they going to say, we're going to buy too much of it, and there's not going to be enough left for you to do anything with. And that's why. And I see Ms. Bristol here, and I've met with her 6 or 8 months ago. This whole thing has come up, like I said, 3 times. And there's absolutely, and one, real quick, one thing, this is
Just
absolutely,
answer the
unequivocally
question,
nothing to do with
Mr.
the Val Estates. It is out of the subdivision.
Okay, but wait. Mr. Chairman, he answered my
And that's why I
question.
wanted to table, because I have the
No,
proof
no,
that
wait,
it's not
wait,
part of it.
Wait, I'm
Thank
not trying
you.
to, Mr. Chairman, he answered my question.
Okay.
I have one quick question to Sidney. Sidney, the
You can sit
roundabout.
down, Mr. Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Cox, yeah. Sidney, the roundabout he's referring to, part of what I see here is he's talking about a roundabout that that the state might buy. or that they're gonna buy a portion of this land, okay? And then we're talking about giving it a different designation when we don't know how much of this land is gonna even be left. So my question now, my last question is, do you know about the time frame of this roundabout being designed and built? Gina, I'm sorry.
Yes. Currently, this is a project, you were correct in saying a state project. It's a state highway. It is in design right now. However, it is not far enough along to know what the right-of-way specifications are going to be. I believe that the design should be complete sometime next year, but I could not tell you at this time when the right-of-way specifications will be available.
Okay, and I would just say, Mr. Cox, I'm going to tell you up front, I understand the point Mr. Falconer made, okay, and I understand the opposition, I understand your point, but we know a roundabout is coming. We don't know how much land, by your own admission, is going. Well, wait, hold on one second. We don't know how much land is going to be purchased. We haven't seen the design of it yet. Therefore, I'm not going to vote to change anything at this point in time. Without the knowledge of what's going to be left over, okay, in my opinion, we'll be rezoning something not knowing what the ultimate look of this land is going to be. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Gene?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to sustain or concur with the zoning denial. There are many reasons. One is the fact that this is in a subdivision. I've never seen a case. I sat on zoning for 8 years, many years ago, and to start speculating, to me, it's outside the realm of what we should be doing. This is, I've got signatures of 68 citizens from the area that oppose this rezoning, so I'm making the motion to concur with the zoning denial.
Second. Motion by Mr. Belsario, seconded by Mr. Canulet, that a motion for, to concur with the denial. Any other discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Smith? Motion passes with 9 yeas, 3 nays, 3 nays, 10 yeas, and 1 absent. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, 9 yeas, 4 nays, and 1 absent.
All right, motion is adopted. Okay, we have the names down now. Now I need a resolution. Mr. Canulet, Mr. Belsario. Discussion. Please vote.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I was just threatened by Mr. Cox, and I would like the officer to have him removed, please.
Tell him the police officer to stop you. David, are you going to, okay?
Please vote.
Please vote on the resolution.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Okay, the next item is appeal from Linda Keating Fusel, appealing the Planning Commission denial on October the 13th, to create a minor subdivision of parcel C located in section 28, Township 5 South, Range 11 East, being 18293 Million Dollar Road by creating parcels 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's 4-2, it's my district. I've asked Mr. Sharp to.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, move to override the planning denial.
Is there, let me ask you this, is there anybody here opposed to this, us overriding this denial? Ms. Fusel is here in case we have questions from her. Seeing none, you ready to vote? Please vote to concur, override the planning denial, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a resolution, please. Mr. Sharp, Mr. Bellisario. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, next up is ordinances for adoption. Ordinance calendar number 5465, ordinance authorizing the parish president to enter into one or more servitude agreements with various utility providers.
So moved.
Motion made. Seconded. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5466, an ordinance to declare multiple tax adjudicated property as surplus property and authorize the parish to proceed with the process for the advertising and sale of such adjudicated properties. Mr. Bellisario, Mr. Fontick, any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar 5467, an ordinance to authorize the parish president to declare lots in Galleria Commercial Park as surplus property and authorize the sale of said property. Ward 8, District 8. Mr. Canulet and Mr. Bellisario. You up to speed now, Mr. Bender?
Yes, sir.
Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Next ordinance is ordinance calendar number 5468, that's number 4 on page 8. Ordinance to correct the road drainage.
Theirs is different than yours.
Do I?
It's number 4, but it's not on page 8. Theirs is.
It says page 8.
Yours is different from theirs.
No, mine's different from theirs.
Yes,
Now
yours
he's
is
trying
special.
to, now he's trying to check me.
Yours is special.
Oh, I'm special, that's right. Okay. Yes, sir.
In fairness to myself, at least you know I was reading the wrong paper.
Good.
I was following.
Do you have an ordinance to move on this?
So moved.
Bellisario and Canulet. Any discussion? Please vote.
What am I, chopped liver?
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Where y'all at? I can't see out there. Ordinance calendar number 5469, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 20,000 square from supposed to be feet from I-1 to HC2 Highway Commercial, Ward 3 and 4, District 5. Who said Red and Falconer? Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5470, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 21,600 square feet from NC1 to ED1, Ward 4, District 4. But Ward 4 is in
your area.
Mr. Falconer, Mr. Dean. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 7, ordinance calendar number 5471, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 3.507 acres from PBC1 to HC3, Ward 1, District 1. Marty Dean to amend.
Mr. Tanner, could I call Mr. Shane up to explain, please?
If you give him 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Hope I don't need it. Good evening. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm. I represent the petitioner and owner in this case. Since this matter got favorable recommendation by the Zoning Commission, we have realized that we do not need to zone as much of the land as we requested. So the amendment will be to slightly diminish the amount of land that we would change the zoning for. We have submitted that legal description to your clerk. We would appreciate you amending this evening and adopting and using the proposed legal description.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt with the amendment.
Motion to amend the ordinance. And I need a second for that, and then we'll go with the motion as ordinance as amended.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Hey, wait a minute.
Sure.
Marty, you got a question? Mr. Bellisario?
This reminds me of a case I had last year on the AT1 zoning. Was the revised zoning map published in the newspaper?
If I may, the area of the new legal description is a portion of what was advertised.
Okay, so it's no
So
shifting.
we do have, we
Okay.
are fine with advertising.
Need to vote on the amendment. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, now I need a motion on the ordinance as amended.
So moved.
Mr. Dean, Mr. Thompson. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar 5472, an ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 2.7046 located north of Browns Village Road, west of US Highway 11 from I-1 Industrial to HC1 Highway Commercial to I-1 Industrial District, Highway Commercial 1, Highway Commercial District, and the Mobile Home Overlay, Ward 9, District 14.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Canulet. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5473, an ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on properties within unincorporated St. Tammany Parish within 500 feet of the center line south of Highway 1088 from Soap Street to Hickory Street, Ward 4, District 7.
So moved.
Second. Motion second by Mr. Falconer. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 5474, ordinance to amend the parish code to provide with respect to the placement of fill within prohibited areas in the boundaries of Gravity District number 5.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. I think we have just one card. Gene Thibodeau. No, it's Gene.
That's right. So, yeah, I thought it was my day earlier on, Gene Day.
Richard, this is the time you got it, right?
Go ahead, John.
So, yeah, so good evening. It's an honor to be before y'all tonight. And I'm here in support of the change to Chapter 7 on behalf of Gravity Drainage District number 5, and Jean Thibodeau for the record. And it's an important change regarding placement of fill on properties within flood zone A. The current rules allow fill to be mitigated on-site on the property, or either mitigated, basically the same amount of fill placed on that property in the flood zone could be removed elsewhere within the basin on another piece of property. So the new law, new rules would actually discourage that from happening. The only place where the fill could be mitigated is on-site within the bounds of Gravity Drainage District 5. And it's important because we've had properties where the mitigation site, when it's not on the property being developed, is sometimes so far away, it's hard to justify that the mitigation is actually truly mitigating the fill being placed. So that's a summary. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. So.
Reed.
Mr. Chairman, I own property in the Gravity Drainage District number 5, so I need to recuse myself from this vote, please.
Okay. Mr. Stefanski.
Yes, had the opportunity to work with Marty on this somewhat, and reviewing this ordinance with him and going over it. I think everybody ought to go back and read this ordinance very carefully, because at least some of us are going to consider making this parish-wide. And I think the idea is very good. I didn't want to even try to attempt to do that tonight, but I think we all need to look at it, because it has some ramifications for us, but I think they're good ones. I think they say if you create a problem of drainage, you got to take care of it on your property rather than move it on to somebody else's. And that's what this ordinance does. And I hope that we look at this thing for the future, of maybe considering it for the whole parish.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Sidney a question? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Is he the drainage guy?
Sidney. Yeah, I read this. There's one thing I'm a little confused about, maybe between you and Jean. Maybe you can straighten me out on this. The comment that Mr. Stefanski just made about drainage, okay, and draining onto other property. We have an ordinance in effect that you have to hold all of your own water plus a certain percentage, correct?
Yes, you do, but it also allows for some of that mitigation to be done off-site. It's some of the flexibility that is in our ordinance. And
Wait, I'm sorry. What was that again?
You're required to have it on-site, but there are certain conditions where you could do something off-site. The general rule is that it's on-site, but the present ordinances allow some of the mitigation to be off-site.
Okay, and I understand that, okay, but here's my question, okay? But anything you would do under the current ordinance, off-site, okay, does not preempt your requirement to hold your own water plus, I believe, 25%, correct?
That's correct.
I mean, this is not, whether this gets changed or not for the whole parish, that's a different issue. But I want to be clear in my own mind, mitigating at a different location, and I'm not referring this to Gravity Drainage District number 5. I'm just talking in general in our parish. Going to a different location does not allow you to do an end run on holding your own water plus the required percentage as we see occurs with when retention ponds are put in on developments, okay? On commercial developments, on even residential. Am I right?
I think you're confusing two related issues.
All right.
Number one is the additional runoff created by development, which is required to meet those standards that you're talking about. Hold it on site, 25% reduction. Hold it on site allows the basin to drain. The other issue is bringing in additional fill in existing floodplains, not the additional drain that you're creating, the additional fill where you may take a branch, a small backwater of a floodplain and want to fill it up to create a developable site. What this ordinance will do is say that you have to
On-site.
replace that, where you bring the fill in, you have to create another backwater essentially.
I see.
On your site, as opposed to going 5 miles upstream or downstream, creating backwater and not really affecting creating mitigation at that specific point where you're doing your project.
I appreciate the explanation and the clarification. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Ready to vote? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous with one recusal, one absent.
Number 11 is ordinance calendar 5476, an ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 6.38 acres from A3 to NC3 District 5.
It's been
Postpone
referred.
pending
Is
zoning here.
This was referred to zoning. Yeah, it hasn't been heard.
I understand that, so it should
Move
be
to
actually.
postpone.
It's postponed.
Move to postpone.
Jake, did you have something you want to say? Any discussion? Please vote to postpone. Or not postpone, whatever. See if I can hear.
Mr. Stefanczyk? Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 12, ordinance calendar 5477, an ordinance to amend ordinance calendar series number 071545 regarding a major amendment to the PUD for 188.54 acres, Ward 8, District 13. Motion made to adopt, seconded by Mr. Bender. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, moving right along to appointments. A resolution to reappoint Jerry Bender to Hospital Service District Number 2, Slidell Memorial Hospital Appointing Authority.
So moved.
Mr. Fonzick and Belisario, any discussion? Please vote. Yeah.
Mr. Faulkner? Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Normally, we would ask somebody to make a speech after being appointed something, but I've been requested not to let Jerry make one.
Mr. Chairman, let it be noted that Mr. Stefanczyk was egging me on to give a speech.
Discussion and other matters. Pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 42:19.1, notice of consideration of action regarding service charge. Notice is hereby given that the Road Lighting District Number 9 of the Parish of St. Tammany, State of Louisiana, will meet on Thursday, January the 7th, 2016, at 6 p.m. at the St. Tammany Parish Complex, 21490 Coop Drive, Mandeville, Louisiana, at which time there will be consideration of action regarding the levy and collection of an annual service charge dedicated to paying utility charges for road lighting and maintaining and operating lighting facilities and equipment within the district. This action is contingent upon the favorable passage of the proposition at the election on November the 21st, 2015.
Mr. Chair, we need to amend the notice. Our meeting in January will not be held on January 7th, but January the 14th.
Here, a motion to amend.
I need a second.
Motion to amend is the January 7th to 14th. Gene, Dallas, and Jerry. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I will fill out a card, Chairman Tanner. I'm just curious, where is lighting district number 9?
do what?
Just asking where lighting district number 9 is. I know I can look at a map on the
Military
Parish
Road,
website.
Crossgates subdivision, Turtle Creek subdivision, Lake Village, the Bluffs, that area there, River
right.
Crest, Autumn Lake.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The council meeting or this?
Oh, we amended it, but there was no action required anyway, so. we
Mr.
just
Chairman,
need
could
to
I,
amend.
Mr. Chairman, point of clarification over here. We're rumbling about this. Is your council meeting going to be on the 14th of January?
Yes, it is.
Will it be the same time as the
Yes, it
lighting
will.
district? And you're square with that, huh, Gene?
Yeah, the election's going to be November 21st.
So we-
Right.
The road lighting district.
So you have moved the notice here for the meeting subsequent to that to the same night as the council meeting?
That's correct. It should be a part of the council meeting.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure it's going to be the same.
That's
night.
why we
Got it.
changed the date. Okay, off the floor agenda. Number one, first of all, I
moved.
need a motion to,
Yes,
open,
so moved.
take off the floor, both items, Mr. Belzero?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second? Mr. Dean? Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Number one is ordinance to amend the 2015 operating budget amendment number 11, introduction only.
Mr. Chair, this off-the-floor item handles 2 issues. One that deals with increasing the budget for the household hazardous waste days. They've had such a turnout, they need more money to be able to pay the bills because they had the first one on the 31st of October, the second will be on November 14th. Because we have to pay the outside vendors, and I believe it's on volume. Ms. Pat?
It was so successful that we collected more stuff than we could pay for. We did have it hauled, but we need to pay them now for the extra. But it was very well received, and we will hope I'm sure the one in the east will be the same.
Do we need, okay, we got a motion to introduce in a second. Do we need to do an emergency thing to?
No.
Okay.
No. Mr. Chair, there's a second item to this. It deals with Keep St. Tammany Beautiful. It is to purchase the vehicles and all the lighting for the operation through the sheriff's office for them to have the van for the operations. And we need to have that because we're going to be looking at starting up Keep St. Tammany Beautiful in January.
Let's talk about what you're talking about first. Resolution, are you talking about the resolution
Well,
to amend the ordinance?
The two components that make up the 91,000 is 50,000 for household hazardous waste, and 41,000 is for the van and the lights, et cetera, for the van.
We already introduced that ordinance.
Okay.
We only have one here.
Yeah, but he didn't get a second.
The ordinance changes the budget, but it explains,
He did
the
get a
resolution
second.
is,
Down here, Mr. D.
Did I get a second?
Yeah, you did, I believe you did.
Give me a second.
Okay.
Miss Brister, now that he's taken a second, I did get some emails on that, and it was so successful that we had people waiting quite a long time at some point.
I know, I heard
told
that
them
from my
we
neighbors
would
too.
work on streamlining it.
Well, what I think we need to work on is maybe having it more often, maybe, you
Yes.
know, because we hadn't had it for some time, and as you could see, it was needed badly. So we
Yes.
will, I think that will take care of the long wait, but people gathered that stuff for 2 or 3 years, so thank you.
Thank you.
Once a year,
have
once in
it?
the west and once in the east. So it's twice, but 2 different locations.
Number 2 is a resolution to amend the ordinance council series number 143246 to make changes to the capital asset list, facilities, and capital assets.
So moved, Mr. Chair. I already made the comments for the reason for it.
And, Mr. Chairman, I just might explain a little more. We will now have a crew that will be picking up litter every day. So we will determine where they go and in what areas are needed, but we need this equipment for that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? You got this motion second. Belsario and O'Brien. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
All right, the last thing on the agenda is executive session in regarding the claim number 15D90G240092, parentheses 15-032, Stranco Solid Waste. Do I hear a motion? to
Move we go into executive session.
Second.
Motion Belsario, seconded by Candelet, we go into executive session. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
All right, we'll be going to the back.
Mr. Dean, Mr. Falconer? Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we settle the claim with Stranco Solid Waste as recommended by our legal counsel.
Good, quick response, man.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.